that you should be storing your files electronically. How many of you that are still using paper have a backup of all of your files? Oh, come on. You really back up every piece of paper and put it somewhere? No, nobody does that. And when I had paper files in my office, we didn't do it either. That makes you extremely vulnerable. It makes you vulnerable to fire. It makes you vulnerable to floods. It makes you vulnerable to any kind of disaster, natural or man-made, that causes your building to be put in jeopardy. I live in Oakland, California. In 1989, we had an earthquake. And there was an office building right next to the one that I was in that happened to be owned by a client of mine that was not very well up to standards with respect to earthquake resistance. And as a result of the earthquake, the building was still standing, but it was condemned, and the building, which was full of accountants and lawyers, nobody could go in and get their files. Hurricane Katrina, nobody could get their files in New Orleans. In fact, the courthouse lost a bunch of files because they were all paper and they weren't backed up. Electronically, not a problem. I walk out of my office with a copy of all of my files on a pocket-sized hard drive. It's also backed up in the cloud. It's also backed up on another hard drive in my office. And it takes up no space. It's amazing. In fact, you can carry your files around on a little USB stick.
I mean, think about it. You can now get a USB stick that's 32 gigabytes. Some of us remember when we started out and we got a 10 megabyte hard drive, and we thought that was the slickest thing around, and we were worried about how we were ever going to fill it up, and it was the size of a bread box. And now, look at what you can get. We walk around with this stuff literally in our pockets, and you can make them case-specific, matter-specific, client-specific. This is Jeff's favorite little toy.
500 gigabyte hard drive. It's about a third of an inch thick. Weighs just a few ounces. 500 gigabytes. It's a complete duplication of everything on my computer, including my programs. If the hard drive inside of my computer crashes on me, I can boot to the hard drive and continue to run. It's a great backup system.
And if you're worried about security, the data guard up there on the right is actually a little safe for your thumb drive. You drop your thumb drive into it, put the cap on it, lock it, and you can see them up there. There are three little wheels, and it's a combination lock. You have to have the combination to be able to unlock it to get the thumb drive out. So if you can encrypt it and then lock it up, it's belt and suspenders, but it's pretty good. In terms of what thumb drives look like, they are as variegated as you can imagine. If you click this link, you can bring up a picture of about several thousand different variants of what a thumb drive is.
Okay, remote access to desktop. Sometimes you're traveling, you want to be able to get to your own desktop computer in order to get information off of it because you left a file back. There are several programs that will let you do that. Log Me In is one of them. Go to My PC is another one. Apple has its own, but they're very convenient. They're very useful. If you don't have one, you ought to think about getting them. Next tip is that you plastic wrap your electronics. There are two companies. One is called Rapsol, one is called Zag, and they take the clear plastic protectors that are used for military purposes to protect helicopter blades, and they've created the ability to put them onto laptops, to put them onto iPads, to put them onto other tablets, to put them onto your smartphones, and protect them against scratching and scuffing, and they also have screen protectors. And they're great. They're really worth getting. While you're protecting your computer, you might think about getting a keyboard cover, because if you're like I am and you drink coffee or soda pop or whatever near your computer, eventually something's going to happen. There's going to be an earthquake. There's going to be a child that runs by. There's going to be an animal that runs by, you're going to be on a plane and it's going to hit turbulence, and you're going to get damage to your computer. You can fry a computer by getting liquid in it. By having these keyboard protectors on them, you can protect completely against that destroying your computer. I would rip mine up and show it to you, but unfortunately, I got this computer delivered to me just before I came on the trip, and I've ordered one and I haven't got it yet. So I'm going bare, so to speak, on this particular trip. But by the time I get back to my office, I'll have a keyboard protector for this computer.
The other alternative is just make a rule that you have no beverages within about 10 feet of your computer.
And that works really fine when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant is handing it to the person sitting next to you over your computer. Been there, done that. Next tip is that you become a digital dictator. When I first started practicing law, they were just past using the belt dictating machines, and they were using reel-to-reel tapes. And then they went from reel-to-reel tapes to full-size cassettes and micro-cassettes and mini-cassettes, and then they started doing digital. And we've got the digital to the point now where it is so good that there's no reason not to use it. In fact, it's so good you can use it for voice recognition purposes, as well as just regular dictation. There are a number of ways you can do it. The easiest way, I think, is to have a handheld dictating device that is freestanding, not connected by USB, because that way you can use the same device on the road and in your office, and it works really well. I do recommend that if you're going to do that, that you get professional equipment. The two best in terms of manufacturers of professional dictation equipment are Olympus and Philips, and they have been for some time. Olympus DS5000 was their flagship model until about 6 weeks ago, when they came up with the 7000, which is about $50 more expensive than the 5000, which still remains in their lineup. And Philips' top of the line is their 9600, which is a little bit less expensive yet. That's been around for several years, so I expect that now that Olympus has upgraded their line, that Philips will not be far behind. They both work very well. I have no issue with either of them except for one, and that is if you are a Windows person, use either one. They'll work just fine for you. If you are a Mac person, you're going to like the Philips a lot. You're going to like the Olympus a lot better, because the Philips doesn't work as well with the Mac. They don't say that it's Mac compatible. They say that you need Windows to use it. You can use it with a Mac, but to make it work, what you have to do is take the magnetic media out, put it in a card reader, and then plug the card reader into the Mac. Then it will usually work. With the Olympus, it is Mac compatible, and there's never been an issue with my using it. So I prefer the Olympus and recommend it to you.
Yeah, the new Olympus uses both SD and micro SD cards, so it has two different slots, which is convenient, and it automatically uses 256-bit encryption. Jeff was talking about using them for voice recognition, which is actually a kind of very useful thing. Dragon is now the industry choice. Dragon Naturally Speaking for the PC and Dragon Dictate for the Mac. Get the professional version, not the regular version. If you get it with the professional version and the legal dictionary, it requires less time to train, but once again, it's one of those situations, in particular here, where you actually have to train it. You have to learn how to use the software, and the software has to learn you, so that it will be able to truly recognize you. And you may need to build several profiles if you are prone to allergies and your voice changes as a result. You need to have you in allergic mode as a different profile. Otherwise, it will learn an adaptation and apply it to your base profile, which is something you don't want to do when you get past the allergies, and then it doesn't recognize you again.
Yeah, one caveat, the legal edition is considerably more expensive than the others, and it's questionable to me that it's worth the extra money, because it doesn't, in my experience, add that much, because even with the legal edition or the legal version, it still doesn't do a very good job with respect to dictating citations. And so I use it for general dictation purposes quite frequently, but I don't use it for legal citations because it's just been too frustrating to get it to work properly. Another thing that you can do with the electronic files is you can outsource your typing. If you don't have a secretary, or if you have one secretary and you've got a big load of typing to do, there are services that are available that will turn the work around for you very quickly. Usually within 24 hours, you can pay an extra premium and get it even faster than that. The work that they do is, in my experience, is very good. I've been using one company called Law Docs Express for about 5 or 6 years now, and they do about as good a job as a secretary in my office does it. It's just very easy to do.
There's actually a company in Berlin that has taken this to a fine art, and they will take your dictation file, run it through VR, clean it up, and handle all the briefing that goes with it. Another automation, virtual receptionists. They range from Ruby receptionist, which is a real person, which will answer your phone for you and act as if it's you, to Answer Connect, to OneBox, which is completely automated, to answering service care. Pick what works for you. You know, a completely automated system may work. Something that does follow me to an extreme may be the choice for you. It may not be if you don't want to be disturbed. But consider giving that a try, because at least it relieves you from having to answer your own phone. Back up your data. Always back up your data. Mozy is actually a great solution. EMC Retrospect was sort of the benchmark for backup software. They acquired a company called Mozy. They've actually turned it into something that's very powerful. It is now an online backup service. It is multiply encrypted in both transmission and storage. So you encrypt it on your premises. It gets transmitted over SSL to the Mozy servers. It is re-encrypted there, and then it is again encrypted when it goes onto the servers, where it is striped across multiple servers. The chances of anybody ever getting at the data is zero, because even if they were to be able to break into the facility and get one of the servers, they're only going to get a piece of the data, and it's all encrypted anyway. If you're an ABA member, there are discounts. We're all used to using PowerPoint. It seems it's like Word. Everybody uses Word. I don't, or at least I try not to, because I think it's a crappy product. You can do presentations without PowerPoint. Here are a bunch of them. You can, if you're a WordPerfect person, WordPerfect uses a very powerful presentations application.
For those of you who have started doing scanning, strongly recommend that you look at the Fujitsu ScanSnap. It is a great scanner for small offices. It's one of the best buys on the market because it also comes with a copy of Adobe Acrobat as part of the package. The only downside to this is that the only thing it will do is produce PDF files. If you need to produce JPEGs or TIFF or some other genre of file, the ScanSnap is not the right device for you. But if you can get by with PDFs, and most of us can, it's a great device, and it's around $500. Multifunction devices are also very useful. Multifunction devices give you the ability to scan, to copy, to print, and you can connect them up with, also to fax, and you can connect them up wirelessly now as well as hardwired. There are a number of scanners that you can get that are very small portable scanners that you can use to scan on the go. In fact, you can even scan using your iPhone or other smartphones. They have apps that are available to rectify the picture so that it actually will scan and you can OCR it.
If you're using tablets or other devices that have on-screen keyboards, you may find it useful to get a separate fold-up keyboard to connect to it. They will either connect wired or wirelessly using Bluetooth. The Logitech one is a particularly good one because it's very lightweight and has long battery life. An observation, by the way, about multifunction printers or any kind of printer, always buy on the basis of total cost of ownership. Don't do the Gillette thing, where they get you with a cheap razor and expensive razor blades, get you with a cheap printer and the HP version of the model and expensive ink cartridges. The Xerox Color Cube is probably the lowest total cost of ownership print device on the market.
Okay, the next tip, and this will be our last tip that we have time for, is that you get a cellular hotspot that gives you your ability to do Wi-Fi under your own power using a cellular connection. They're available from just about every major phone manufacturer. What you see in front of you on the top is the MiFi, and then Samsung's answer to the MiFi on the bottom of that. They work with Mac, they work with Windows, they work with iPhones and other smartphones, they work with tablet devices, and they're available now on 4G as well as 3G. They're really very, very convenient. It's much better than using a USB connector because you can go from device to device, and the one that's pictured has just been replaced by a newer model that will give you the ability to go with up to 10 connections. And we haven't updated the slide yet, but this one will do 5 connections.
There are a number of additional slides here. I'd like to wrap up by just saying, break your technology chains. Try to have a technology-free work hour once a day. It's good for you, it's good for your brain, it's good for your health. Try working somewhere other than your desk to focus on the matter in front of you, and treat yourself to simple pleasures. Here in town, there's this great little restaurant in downtown Rapid City called the Corn Exchange. Literally is a world-class restaurant owned and operated by a world-class chef who's won a Beard Award and has been a semifinalist for Best Chef in the Midwest 4 years running. And she has a deli and bakery next door that is really her love. It's called the Potted Rabbit. If you get a chance, go check that out. We also have...
This is a picture of Tony when he was young and good-looking.
Before I met Jeff and got old and bad-looking. There are additional resources in your written materials. There's a card that gives you full contact information for both of us. And then there are a number of bonus slides tacked on the end of the presentation, which will be available on the State Bar website for you to download, including some stuff on the Surface from the introduction that Microsoft did of the product on Monday that you may find interesting if you like the idea of running a full-featured PC in a tablet form.
Any questions? Everybody is questionless. All right, well, thank you all for coming.